I did mine on kitchen and female chauvinistic pigs, women, and the rise of brunch culture. So I was doing a lot of feminist research, I guess. In kitchen, the main basis behind it was self-respect and strong relationships for women and men, but yeah. And then brunch culture is the other one, as it says in the title. So I was comparing, because Kitchen is a story written by a Japanese author. So I was comparing American and Japanese female, like feminist cultures, basically. In America, it's very much like the women's movement. And then in Japan, it's more traditional values. The women know where they stand in the household. They have their place. When you combine brunch culture and the traditional values of Japan, you get the sexy schoolgirl kind of thing. It's how society picked up the brunch culture in Japan and how they got it into their society. When you look at that with America, you get the sexy does not equal liberated. Many women nowadays see if you're sexy, you're being liberated, you're being free, when that's not actually what it is. It's being commercialized. When you look at it from the other side, you get self-respect and strong relationships mixed with the women's movement. You get strong and independent. And that's very much what the women's movement was trying to aim for, strong and independent women, which is what you get when you mix it with this. When you mix the strong respect, self-respect and strong relationships with the traditional values, you get strong marriage morals. In Japan, it's seen as very special when you get married and you don't get divorced, really. If you get divorced, normally you don't remarry. And that's kind of how both of these can work with both of the cultures. All in the middle is the feminist culture. That's behind it all. My other examples would be, there's a manga called Fruits Basket. And that would fit into both the traditional values and typical sexy schoolgirl kind of thing, because they still have they try and make them look more sexy in the manga so it catches people's attention, but the main character has very traditional values. If you look at it more from the American point of view, you get up here, for the women's movement, you get something like MASH, which happened in the 1960s. It takes place during the Vietnam War, and you get to see how the women in the military are being treated, because they're able to be in the military, but they're only allowed to be nurses at that time. And the men make fun of them in a way, and the strongest female character is seen as the enemy. And then you get, for the strong and independent, you could use the girl with the dragon tattoo. And Elizabeth, I think it is, she is a very strong and independent woman. And she is making her own life for her. and she's been doing this since she was in her early teens. So when you take all of like these two main feminist point of views, you get all of these variations, and you get to see the similarities in the cultures from the way they've influenced, and you see the differences.
How did these two books come together to shape your ideas around a big question you were thinking about? What's the main takeaway you had?
I got that in Japan, a lot of the focus is on more like self-respect. And like we still have that in America, but we have more of the ranch culture influence as of now. And that happened, it started in the 60s, and then it kind of split off more. So for me, I take away that they both influence the cultures, but this one influences Japan more, and America is more influenced by the ranch culture.
I don't know if everyone else is, but I'm not so familiar with the ranch culture. Can you tell us anything about that?
It's like, for an example that they used in the book was Playboy, how a lot of women see it as something to look up to, like especially in big cities. There are women who like wear low-rise jeans and like cut-off shorts, like to show off their butt more, and then they'll wear like really tight clothing because that's what they're told is like sexy, and they want to be sexy because a lot of people perceive it as liberated.
So television shows like The Girls Next Door might be an example of how the brunch culture is kind of being celebrated?
Yeah. And then things like Jersey Shore, where they let everything hang out, would be another way that works.
Great. Any other questions for Ellen? Thanks, Jeff.